So let's talk about full circle. I went into Save Mart. Got a few items. I got another salmon steak. So I think I'm going to be set all weekend for, well, at least tomorrow and Saturday with, salmon and then the pasta that I made. Anyway, so I went down the beer aisle because I got some beer for my son-in-law, who's off the next couple days. Well, he's not really my son-in-law. He's my daughter's boyfriend. Anyway, so I went down. I got my salmon, and I went down the beer aisle, and there's this big guy, really tall. And he had a big old giant gut. And I'm like, man, he sure looks familiar. And then it dawned on me. About 20 years ago, I was in the sheet metal union as an apprentice. This guy was a journeyman sheet metal guy. And I used to give him rides to work. Like, we would carpool. Really, I was his ride because he was a super alcoholic and he got in trouble with the law, and he had one of those he had a real nice pickup truck, and he would have a breathalyzer or whatever on it in order to start it. But he didn't want to drive for whatever reason, but I used to pick him up and drop him off. And it was just for this one job that we worked on, the Madera Community College. For most of it, not its entirety. I worked at that college in its entirety, but he was there for maybe, 6 months, 9 months maybe. But yeah, I used to give him a ride. Anyway, he was a fucking ornery son of a bitch. And I knew how to deal with people like that, right? I was a smart ass, still am. A smart ass, and I would get on his fucking nerves, and he wasn't a bad guy. We weren't at each other's throats, but like, I wouldn't take his shit. And I think he kind of respected that. Anyway, that was him. And I'm assuming, he looked pretty good. Like, even though, because when I first met him, he was really skinny, and to me, he looked like shit back then, because he was an alcoholic. He had these handlebar mustaches and big tall guy. He talked like this, and he seemed older than he was. But anyway, yeah, I saw him, and he was staring at the beer. I don't know if he's still an alcoholic, but he was on the phone. I think he went to AA meetings too, but he was on his phone with somebody, on speakerphone. So I didn't interrupt. I recognized him. I wasn't going to say anything. I don't know if he recognized me, but he had plumped up quite a bit, but he looked good. Like, he was full, last time I saw him, he was like super skinny. He was tall as fuck. He was like 6'6", 6'7", maybe. And he just had this real powerful voice, and real intimidating looking guy, but not to me. I mean, shit, I'm 5'10", and, I'm not big. Even back then, I was a lot thinner. But, yeah, I never took his shit, and I think he kind of respected that, because he was used to just kind of like pushing his weight around or whatever. But I remember, giving him some smart-ass comments like, nah, you're not getting over on me, pal. And plus, he needs the ride. You know what I mean? We didn't really get close. And then after the job, we just kind of, lost contact. And I remember seeing him around town, even at our bank, once or twice, later on. But I wasn't going to keep in contact. Like, what for? Like, he was, good 15 years older than I was. And now we'd probably relate a lot more, because it's funny, like, he was a super alcoholic and now I'm a super alcoholic. But But yeah, I mean, to me, like, he looked good. He looked better than before, even though he kind of plumped up. And his voice, like, he looked healthy. Anyway, I think part of me feels like I should say, hey, Fred, it's me, JP. Good to see you. Thanks for the good times. You know, something like that. But I don't know. He looked like he was in deep with that conversation. But I thought it was funny because it's like I remember thinking, wow, what a fucking loser. He's got to breathe into a fucking machine to get his truck started. And otherwise he's got to ask for a ride. And they didn't have Uber and Lyft back then. So I didn't feel like engaging in a conversation or whatever, but you'd probably get a good laugh if you found out, yeah, you know, I got an alcohol problem now, but I'm working on it. And it looks like he's okay. Like, he was probably staring at the beer. Well, I remember him, it wasn't the beer thing. Well, maybe it was. Because I remember going to his house one time, and he actually lives in this neighborhood, like by the Save Mart. And so I'm like, that's him. That's him. Because, you know, he's got the real powerful voice. He was tall. Looks like him. He's just more filled out, you know. No more money. He was real clean cut. Like super white hair now. Combs it back. He just looked slightly different, but it was him. But he looked like healthy. And he didn't look like an alcoholic loser like he did back then. Oh, man. But I wish I had a story. There was a couple stories with him, but it's like, do I really want to go into it? Not really. But it was just bizarre to see him. You know, I'm kind of going through this thing where I'm an alcoholic and I'm trying to stay away from alcohol. Well, okay, so I remember going to his house one time and we actually had a few beers together. And it was at his house, and we were just kind of leaning on the bed of his truck. And, you know, I'm like, oh, what do you want me to do with this can? He's like, yeah, just throw it in the back. And I remember there being a shitload of beer cans in the back. But that wasn't what his problem was. He was like he was a heavy drinker. Like he drank like, you know, whiskey and vodka and everything. Like he would just do shots and shots. And then I remember picking him up and he would get in the car and he would be like rumbling, you know, he kind of fucking kind of mumbling his words, and he smelled like he was fucking drunk. Like I literally picked him up drunk and took him to work, and he was an asshole all day, and I took him home, and he had sobered up by that time. But anyway, I remember just shaking my head and just like, man, what a fucking loser. Now look at me. Anyway, I probably should have said hi. I kind of have like mild regret, like, but you know what, it's like I only knew the guy for like 8 months, you know, but I remember him because there was another guy that came up with me as an apprentice. He's still in the sheet metal trade. In fact, I was gonna message him right now. Guess who I saw at Save Mart right now? Because he sounded a lot like Sam Elliott, the actor. Maiden name is Sullivan, you know, that real kind of strong, like not even raspy, it just, but that's how he sounded. Fuck, that hurt my throat just. Anyway, I just want to share that with you. Not that anybody cares. All this shit from yesterday and today, I have to upload it. So, all right, guys, take care. Tuning out. I might talk to you a little bit tomorrow after work and before I go see my baby girl at Castillo's. I might even record a little bit in Castillo's because I haven't been there in like 15 years. If you guys ever in Fresno and you guys want to, well, you know, I can't even vouch for them right now Because back then, back in the day, it was good food. Like, that was the place to go, Castillo's. But I know they changed management at one point because they had a lot of illegals. I think they had like a raid or something. This is rumors or shit that I heard. So I don't know for a fact. But, you know, the whole fucking original crew was like taken away. And this is before Trump, right? This is back in the day. And then, so I remember hearing people say, you know, and I went there a couple other times. And when I go to a restaurant, if I get something good, something that tastes good, I don't want to ruin it, and so I just stick with that same item every time I go. So their chimichanga and beans and rice, which, how can you fuck that up, right? Well, places do fuck that up. Like, they just fried it right. The meat was good. It wasn't bland. The beans and rice were fucking tip top. I went to Castillo's only to get the chimichanga. And it was like either shredded beef or, you know, asada or whatever. That was the only thing I would change, was the meat. But it was always good. And so I haven't been, I think I went there once or twice after I don't even know if it's management changed, but there were new people there. It didn't have that same feel. But people kept going, man. People are loyal to the name. Not to mention that neighborhood, you know, it's kind of centralized east side Fresno. It's predominantly Mexican, you know, and Mexicans are loyal to what they like, you know, so. But, yeah, I'm going to go tomorrow with my daughter, meet my daughter, and it'll be the first time I've been there in, seriously, 15 years. So, before Roman was born. I think the last time I went, I was with my second wife. Yeah, long time ago, man. So, all right. I'm out of here. Love you guys. And blah, blah, blah. Blah.